Someone is trying to murder me, and I don't know why. Written by the Cherry Badger. You know, when people get murdered in the movies, there's usually a reason why. Like, for instance, your parents burned someone alive, or you accidentally ran over someone. Or maybe the monster guy died a horrible death and he's now seeking revenge. As awful as it is, at least you can rationalize it. There's a reason this is happening. Well, I don't have that luxury. It all started a few months ago. I got off work and I decided to run to Walmart to pick up some groceries. When I say groceries, I mean ramen noodles. I picked up my delicious yet cheap dinner and went back to my home to indulge myself for under $2. I live in a quiet little subdivision. Neighbors on both sides and across the street. All super nice people, mostly older in their late to mid-50s. And after living here for a couple of years, I know most of them on a first-name basis. As I drove down the road leading to my house, I noticed that it had really gotten dark already. Houses on both sides were cast in shadow. If I hadn't lived here so long, it could have been a bit unsettling. We used to have a street lamp that lit the place up a bit, but it burned out a couple of months ago and the city still hasn't replaced the bulb. I could hear gravel crunch under my tires as I turned into the driveway. I loved that sound. When I'd first bought the home, I wanted to get the driveway paved. But now, the sound reminded me that I was home at last. I grabbed my Walmart bag full of ramen from the passenger seat, and I got out of the car. It was so dark that I could barely see the steps to my front door. As I walked in the door, I consciously flipped the porch light on, just in case I needed to go back out. I flipped on the living room switch, and my shoes hit the hardwood floor. I looked over my left across the living room at my open bedroom door inside. My cozy bed was just how I had left it. I was considering just putting my food plans away and going to bed when I heard a noise coming from the kitchen. It was my cat, Schmidt, and he was hungry. Me and him both. I proceeded straight into the kitchen and I began to make dinner for the both of us. As I began to boil water for my noodles, I noticed out of the corner of my eye a car slowly driving down the subdivision road. Me, being the nosy person that I am, I went to the living room window to investigate. A truck rolled down the street at a slow pace, creeping down the road and stopping multiple times just to start going slowly again. I've definitely never seen anything like that before, I muttered under my breath. I lingered, watching it for a couple of more minutes until it finally pulled into a driveway, backed out, and then drove away. I must have been in the wrong neighborhood, I thought to myself. Eventually, I sat down at the table to enjoy my luxurious dinner. To be honest, I had more than enough money to eat something better. I just loved ramen. It reminded me of college. Through a window close to the table, I looked into the backyard. There was no fence and it butted right up against a large field. It was a nice sight in the morning when eating breakfast. But by this time at night, it was so dark that I could hardly see a thing. Nothing about it struck me as scary. I mean, this was my house. I'd looked at the back field 100 times and I'd never seen a thing. As I looked out, I thought I saw some movement at the edge of my yard. My eyes widened for a moment, and I stretched my neck towards the window. I saw a small brown animal walk through the center of my yard and I sighed. It was just a deer. I did see them sometimes. I finished my bowl of ramen and I put it in the sink and I yawned. Honestly, I was ready for bed. Work had been long and hard, but at the same time, I felt a bit uneasy. After that truck and then the deer, my thoughts were running wild. I lived in a 3-bedroom house, big for one person, but certainly not the biggest or nicest in the neighborhood. No one's going to come and bother you, I thought to myself. You're not the one with the Escalade in the driveway. There's hardly anything someone would want to take. Before I could worry about it too much, I laid down and I went to bed. I woke up to my cat hissing and running under my bed. I didn't move a muscle. I just laid there, listening. I grabbed my phone next to me. I turned on the flashlight and swung out of my bed. I scanned all around the bedroom. There was nothing. I stepped into the doorway of the living room and I set my light on the front door. It was shut and locked. I felt relieved. My cat probably just saw a shadow. I swung my light towards the kitchen, and there was a man standing right across the room, staring at me. I screamed and ran into my room, slamming the door and locking it. My mind raced. How could he have gotten into my house? What am I going to do? Why is he here? Am I going to die? I ran to the closet where I kept my gun. I flung open the door and then opened my case. There was nothing inside. What the? I thought to myself. I remembered that I had a knife that I kept in a drawer near the bed, so I grabbed it. And then I opened the door again. Now, I'm a pretty big guy. I wrestled in high school and I kept in good shape. I was sure that I could scare off one guy. I looked around the living room again, and I didn't see anyone. I assumed that I had scared him off, and I slowly started creeping through the room. I got about 3 steps in, and I felt something smack the back of my head hard. I saw stars, and then I blacked out. When I came to, I was tied up with an extension cord to one of my kitchen chairs. My eyes slowly fluttered open, and my head lulled slightly back and forth. I tasted blood in my mouth. My eyes finally started clearing up, and I could see 3 people standing in front of me, all in dark clothes and boots, with what looked to be plague doctor masks on. There was one in front of me and 2 on either side. The middle one had one of my nice kitchen knives in his hand. I heard a deep voice jeer at me. "Wakey, wakey." He seemed incredibly amused. "Try to scream, and I swear to God I'll cut your tongue out of your mouth. I might take your eyes too." He paused. I may do it anyway. I was surprised to find that I wasn't gagged or anything. My mouth was free to speak. I tried to plead with them first. "Listen, I've got a lot of money." I glanced around, scanning them, trying to see any hint of expression. "I've even got real cash, a pretty good amount. I'll bring it right to you, no questions asked. You leave and I'll tell no one," I said. He didn't move a muscle. He didn't say a word. None of them did. Then I decided to beg. Cold sweat rolling down my forehead and my stomach twisted into knots. I felt tears begin to hit my eyes. This felt like my own personal horror movie, not real life. "Please don't kill me. I swear, I'll give you whatever you want. Just don't hurt me," I said. I felt like I could see him smirk under the mask. "It's a pretty sharp knife here," he said as he turned it in his hand. "You've got a good taste in steel." And with surgical precision, he ran the blade over the top of his right arm, drawing a red line. I screamed a muffled scream, more out of shock than pain, as I remembered his earlier threat. "I'm gonna watch you bleed all over your own floor, and not a soul is going to help you." Goosebumps washed over my body, and my eyes got big. I felt like I had to run, I had to hide, but I was stuck there. I couldn't move. I've never felt fear like this before. The fear of prey that is facing its predator with nowhere to go. I stammered. Why are you doing this? I've never hurt anybody. Do you even know me?" He crouched down as though to look me right in the eyes as the other stood, and he said, "No." I was confused. Then why did you choose me?" I said. He paused, and then he shrugged. "You had your porch light on." And then he stabbed me in the chest, right above my heart. I came to in the hospital. Apparently, someone had called an ambulance at some point. and they found me passed out and tied to the chair with a knife in my shoulder. I was released a few days after that. Apparently, my injuries weren't too bad. The police asked me some questions, hardly any of which I had answers to. They found almost no evidence at the house, besides where they seemed to have entered. I have a back room I use mostly for storage on the other end of the house. A window in there was unlocked and they climbed right in. I felt like such an idiot when they told me that. It's been a few months since the incident. I installed a security system, but I honestly don't trust it. I got more guns, but after the last time, I'm not confident that they'd be there if I needed them. They found the shotgun back in the case when they searched the house. How about that? Oh, and the best part. I got a letter yesterday, and it read, "Had a lot of fun last time. Think I'll drop in and finish up our date." It had no stamp. Someone had placed it in my mailbox. So now I lay awake at night writing the story, unable to sleep, unable to think of anything but that mask. I guess sometimes evil doesn't have a reason. It just finds you anyway.